You know what? We'll start with the terms better. Terms are on starts with page 78. Okay, so the first word on the page, which is a major term in the mind, is the word shituf, right? So shituf literally means partnership. And in context of the mimer, it means the belief that there is some force that Hashem created, and things that happen in the world are sort of Hashem together with that force that Hashem created. And that's something which for Yid to believe something like that would be Avodah Zarah. Sherish Umokar, what does that mean? Right. The difference between the two words are, even though in contents it's the same, Sherish means roots, and Mokar means source. Number 3, Gavoya me'al Gavoya. Right. When he talks about higher and higher, when he talks about the source, it says the source, and there's the source of the source, and the source of the source. So this is also a term that's found quite often in Maimarim, referencing different things. Okay, number 4, bottle, we don't have to explain. Number 5, Sher Shoy. Same idea, the source of the source, the root of the word, root. Hey, Gur is the Bina. Right. So what it means is that there is a sphere of Bina, and in Bina there are 5 parts, and that is called the 5 Guras of Bina. You remember why Bina is related to Gvura? Like section. Right, because Bina is the details of the concept, breaking it up into parts. And that's what Gvura is. Gvura is when you break things into parts, which means everything is sort of limited. This is A, and this is B, separating things one from the other. When you use the term parts, by definition, it means you're separating one thing from the other. And that's why it's called Bina, associated with Gevura. Number 7 is Havus Hagashmius Min Aruchnius Ein Loch Briya Yeshmi Ayin Godel Mizeh. So when we learned the Maimer, I didn't explain it. So maybe I'll explain it now.
Is that like the jump from like British Nine, like it's specialist and then
Right.
Jump.
Right. So it's a jump. But what these words mean, that creating Gashmis from Ruchnis is no greater Yeshmiayin than this, it seems to imply there are other Yeshmiayin, and this is the greatest one. What's the other Yeshmiayin? Everything else is not Yeshmiayin, it's a Shtalshalis. So the answer is that there is you would call it maybe a miniature form of Yesh Me'ayin, but not really in a complete way. What am I referring to? Let me ask you a question, a general question. Why do we refer to the 4 worlds as the 4 worlds? What's my question? Really, you have 10 spheres. Then you have another level, lower. So instead of calling it 4 worlds, we should call it 40 levels. Why do we divide them into worlds?
Because like each section of this world are within each world, so like kind of going different, how much light.
So that's what each level is. Bina is lower than Chokhmah. I don't have that chart in front of me. Just I had it with me every single day, except for today. But the chart, Bina is lower than Chokhmah. Das is lower than Bina. Chesed is lower than this. This is lower than that. The next world is lower than this world. So it's just lower, 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 lower. Why do we define it as four worlds?
Well, first, next world is like, it's created, it's like, above.
Why do we say that?
Malchus creates, that's the.
Right. So what we're basically saying is there's a big difference. When it goes from Chokhmah, Bina, Das, Chesed, down to Malchus, one is lower than the other, but they all are in one category. The next world is a totally different category completely, which means just like we understand from Ruchnius to Gashmius, it's not just lower, it's a different kind of existence. From Atzilus to Bria, even though they're both spiritually, but Bria is a different kind of existence than Atzilus. So it's like a new world. And from Bria to the next world, Yitzir is also not just another level lower. That's a different kind of existence completely. And therefore, in a certain sense, every time a new world gets created, again, you need that jump of Yesh Me'ayin. Because it's a new kind of creation. The kind of existence that you have in the lower world doesn't exist in the higher world. It's like in our physical world, if we ask the question, how many levels of things are there in the world? The real answer is gazillions, right? Because even though there are four levels, which are humans, animals, plants, and inanimate, but in humans there's so many levels. There's levels of intelligence, levels of character traits, levels of talent, infinite levels among people. Animals, so many species of animals, and different levels of intelligence of animals, capabilities of animals, better animals, worse animals, animals that are more tame or more domestic, and animals that are predators, all different kinds of species of animals. It's countless. How many kinds of plants are there? Also, like you said in the mimer, different kinds of trees, different kinds of flowers, different kinds of grass, different kinds of fruits, and different kinds of vegetables. And each one, some have advantages that health-wise, some have advantages taste-wise, some have advantages beauty-wise. There's just different levels. But and the same is with inanimate. There are diamonds, and there are gems, and there are pearls, and there are ordinary stones, and there's earth, and there's water, and there's so many different things. But they all have one thing in common. What is it? They're all gashmis. They all can be grasped by one of the five senses, either to be heard, to be seen, to taste, smell, or touch. So they have one thing in common. So in Atzilus also there are 10 levels. When we study Chassidus, we learn it's really not 10, it's thousands and tens and hundreds and millions of levels, but they all have something in common, which that's why they all belong to the world of Atzilus. So the next world, which is Bria, is not the same like Atzilus. It's a different kind of existence. It's not Gashmi, but it's a different kind of existence. And everything in that world has something in common. But what they have in common is that's why it's the world of Bria, not Atzilus. So every time that's why on the chart I made that arrow there. I think every time we go, Frank, want to give you the chart for a second? Thank you. So in the chart here you have the arrow from Malchus. Every time we come to Malchus, and it creates that, it's not just another level. Here there's a jump of Yesh Me'ayin. And that's why the Maimon said there's no greater Yesh Me'ayin than Ruchnis to Gashmis. All these Yesh Me'ayin, it's true, it's a new kind of existence, but they still have something in common. They're all Ruchnis. But over here, there's nothing in common because the Gashmis is a totally, absolutely new existence that never existed before at all. Not even in the finest, most subtle level. So in every world, the same process exists. From here to here is like Yesh Ila V'Olu. From here to here is Yesh Me'ayin. Here to here is Ila V'Olu. From here to here is Yesh Me'ayin, and so on. Okay. Thank you. Number 8, yes?
Sorry, still huge mind, even though it's not.
We're up there?
Yeah.
No, it's not Gashmis. It's just Yesh Me'ayin means it's new compared to what was there before. But it's still in the realm of Ruchnis. And the next world is new compared to what was there before, but the next world is Ruchnis.
So you saying that between the Sierra and the Sierra is the biggest one?
Yeah, that's the biggest jump. Number 8. I think it should have been the word. It's usually the reverse. Zo and Malchus. So Zo is what? The 6, right? 6 emotions of the 6 spheres, and Malchus is the 7th. Number 9, Revovis, Madregas, Ishtalshalos. What does that mean? Right, it means myriads of levels of evolvement. How things evolve one from the other, not Yeshmiayim, but they evolve one from the other, and there are tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of levels. Number 12, we go to page 79.
The line of the turn?
Right, number 12 is the line in the chariot. Number 13,
And all the different worlds?
right, there's a chariot in all the different worlds. So the chariot in the lower world evolves from the chariot in the higher world. The lion in Yetzirah comes from the lion in Bria, and the lion in Bria comes from the lion in Atzilus, and so on. So another way of referring to it is Markapta Ilah. Ilah in Aramaic is like the word Elyon, means the higher Merkava, the higher chariot. Number 16 and 17, when we did the mimer, I really skipped it, so I'm going to skip it again because it's going to come up in the next mimer that we're going to learn it. So over there, I'll elaborate on it more. 18, Ein Aroich. What?
There isn't something.
You got it. So it means like this: there are two things that are distant from each other, but they relatively they have some connection. We use the Hebrew word or the word in Chassidus, it means it's be'erech. There's some connection, some relationship between the two. Ein arech means there's no connection, like a radical difference. So, for example, yesh me'ayin would be ein arech. There's no comparison. So I think the literal translation probably would mean ein arech. There's no comparison or there's no connection. And the opposite of that would be be'erech, which means it's a distance, but there is some relationship, something in common between the two things. Ein erech means where there's nothing in common. It's totally different one from the other. 19 is a pasuk that was brought down in the Maimer, where it says Moshel HaKadmoni. What? So what does that mean?
The original Mashal?
It's referring to the Torah, and Kadmoni means Hashem. Because the word Kadmon in Hebrew means the first one. Hashem is the first. He preceded everything in creation. And the Torah is his mashal. This was to bring out the idea that what we find in Torah, the wisdom in Torah, is really only a mashal to a deeper wisdom. And a mashal to a deeper wisdom. It's really Hashem's wisdom in a language that we should be able to understand. And he used the example of Shlomo HaMelech, if you remember, that he needed 3,000 mishalim to explain what he understood. Which means he understood things on such a abstract, deep level that it needed a mushal for the mushal for the mushal for the mushal 3,000 times for people to understand. So how much more so by Hashem? So the whole Torah, the way we know it and the way we see it, is only a mushal of Hashem's real, pure, abstract wisdom. So number 20 is what Kadmaini means. The Gemara says it's Hashem because he is Kadmaini Shaloilam, means he preceded the world, the creation. Page 80. Ilav Olul. Right. So Ilav Olul is when one thing evolves from another, a cause and effect, or cause and result. The word mitzias, it's a word that depends a lot on what context it's being used. But in this Maimed, it's being used mainly the concept: is the world does the world really have substance or not? Is it really in existence or not? On one hand, we say it does exist. On the other hand, we say it doesn't exist. So, as far as the Maimed is concerned, the answer is it exists, but the existence is not attributed to itself, but to Hashem. So it's not a true existence. What's not a true existence? The way we perceive it as independent, that's not the true existence. That's from Hashem. Number 23. What's mahava and what's mishava? What do these two words mean? Mahava means to create. Mishava means to be created. In the case of the Yesh Me'ayin, Hamahava, the creating force, mistater hides from the object that's being created. That's the part that we explained, that if the light of Hashem would be revealed and exposed, then the object of creation couldn't exist. It would become part of its source. Dalad just say this for that's Dalad Ruchis. What? Elements, right? Earth, air, fire, and water. 25. Do you remember him using the term Kayach HaMarkiv? So in Hebrew, Murkav means when things are like a compound, things are merged together. Everything in the world is made up of 4 elements. But the 4 elements can only make up what they are if they're connected to each other. And use the example, when there's a fire and the 4 elements are no longer connected, it's gone, it turns into ashes, which really means only the element of earth is left. Everything else is gone. Even the element of earth, he says, has in it in a subtle way the other elements. So there's got to be something, a 5th thing, and that 5th thing connects all the 4 together. What is the 5th thing? That's the words of Hashem that has all 4 elements merged to become a table, a chair, a tree, an animal, or whatever it is. So yes, everything in the world is made up of 4 elements, but the merging of the 4 elements to make up a kind of an existing entity, that has to be something which is a 5th thing. And that 5th thing brings them all together. Susan. Number 27. So 27 and 28 really go together. First of all, I should have put this by 27 where it says Kayach habilti b'gvul. I would make a comma right next to it. Kayach hagvul. What do these 2 things mean? Kayach hagvul means Hashem's power to create things in a finite way. Kayach habilti b'gvul means Hashem's power to create things or to manifest His presence in an infinite way.
Did you show number 26?
Did I skip number 26? Yes, I did. It was done intentionally just to see if you were aware and awake. Because I'm not. Okay. You're right. You skipped 26. Yeah. I think we'll go with 27 first and then be able to go back to 26. Yeah.
With what was it, Kaya?
Koyach HaGvul and Koyach HaBilti Bagvul.
And Gvul is the infinite one?
Beli Gvul is infinite.
Believe-
Gvul means finite.
Okay.
Gvul means limit. Gvul can also mean boundaries. And Beli Gvul means no boundaries, no limits, infinite.
So would the belief of will be an example of Hashem's creating the other worlds, like the infinite
Infinite light, right.
light that's emanating in each of the four worlds or in the three worlds, and then in this world it's the finite light?
Finite. And that would be a relative situation, but even in the spiritual, they're also finite. They have 10 spheres and they have a structure.
The infinite is finite.
So the infinite would be the Ein Sof. It's above all the worlds. That's really the infinite.
That's the infinite. and
Right.
then Those infinites become finite towards that
Right.
greater.
We also learn in Maimarim that down here in this world, when a miracle happens, that's really a manifestation of the infinite.
Is that a manifestation of the higher worlds, or is that from Ein Sof?
For Ein Sof.
It's from Ein Sof.
Right. Because the laws of nature and all the limitations of nature, that this is something which can't happen, they really come from the finite order that's up there as well. In other words, there's an infrastructure in Atzilus, and Bria is a different world, but the infrastructure of the worlds is the same. These are the 10 spheres. And the next world is the same. And down here, what is that infrastructure? All the laws of nature. Fire functions this way, water functions a different way, earth functions another way, and air is different. And all the laws of science, they all come from the 10 spheres, from the infrastructure in the 10 spheres. In other words, the fact that fire by nature goes up, the only one that goes up. Earth goes down, water goes down, air doesn't go down, but it doesn't go up. Fire, if you take a match and you turn it upside down, it'll just go up. Heat always rises. Has to do with the fact that that's the nature of, let's say, Bina of Atzilus. So these laws of nature exist in a spiritual way, then they manifest down here. So how could something happen that's not following the rules? It comes from Ein Sof, a place which is infinite. So every time there's a miracle down here, which is all the time, is, I remember that everyone said that Israel existence every day is a miracle. And something that happens, of course, but the fact that it's every day, you don't see it. But when things happen where, you can openly see that this was miraculous, someone picks up a gun to shoot somebody and the gun doesn't work, and there's no reason why it's not working, or someone shoots a missile and it doesn't explode, there's no reason why it didn't explode, that's a miracle. So these are things that come from Ein Sof. So again, Hashem creates things that are finite and things that are infinite. So it comes from two different powers within Hashem. One is to create finite, one is to create infinite. What was one of the big main points in the Maimer about these two powers of Hashem?
Like it is capable of doing, it's capable of like
Right.
limitation.
And him manifesting finite is more infinite than manifesting finite.
Right. That's really the next step. Right. In other words, normally you would say, okay, within Hashem, there's the finite, there's the infinite. It's like in a person, you would say, I have something in me which makes me be proactive and run around doing things, but I also have the brakes. I have something in me to stop me, to limit myself, and to know where to hold back and to refrain. So as if to say, Hashem has one aspect in him that reveals light, and there's another aspect in him that conceals light. So we said, if we would say that, Chas v'sholem, it would mean that Hashem is not absolute one. So the real truth is that the fact that Hashem manifests in a way which is finite is an extension of him being infinite. That was the point we brought out. That even finite comes from Hashem being, he's so infinite that he could be finite as well.
Are they equally distant from Hashem?
So Bailey just said, the second point of the Maimon was that in fact being the finite expresses more Hashem's infinity than the infinite. They have to be both equal because Hashem is one. So they all come from one point. But when you see something in the world that's finite and you know it's coming from Hashem who's infinite, that expresses his absolute infinity more than infinite. That's why we gave the example of the Goyim, the Goyish philosophers, not talking about ordinary people, philosophers, thinkers, very deep thinkers and smart people. And they came to the conclusion that Hashem is so infinite, so great, that it would be, this is their conclusion, that it would be a disgrace to say that he's busy with us down here on earth. And he's concerned about me, whether I'm eating or not eating, whether I'm giving someone else food or helping another person. That's ridiculous for someone who's infinite. Why does he even care about these kind of little things? But the end result of this philosophy is so you can kill, you can steal, you can do whatever you want. But the truth is that Hashem is infinite, and being infinite, he's no closer to the heavenly worlds than to this world. So the fact that Hashem relates to the finite, that expresses how his infinity is absolute. Then these words, ayim ve'efes mamish, what does that mean?
God, an absolute nothingness.
Yeah. And 30, efes belodim be'emes.
Nothing.
Belodim means besides him. Nothing besides him, be'emes. Nothing exists truthfully besides Hashem. And again, when we say truthfully, it means to say everything was created by Hashem. And it does exist. It's not a figment of our imagination. But truthfully means it's not what we see and the way we look at it and attribute its existence to itself. That's not true. Its true existence is attributed to Hashem who creates it. Balei Bchira, what does that term mean? Right, people who have free choice. It's referring to basically humans who have free choice. And angels are not Balei Bchira. They don't have any free choice. And that makes the whole difference of whether you're allowed to give it any honor or anything else or not. And that's why we're allowed to say thank you to people or ask them for things because they have free choice. And Hashem wants us to go through that channel. Let's go for the first page here, just a little bit, a few questions, maybe not every single one, 73a. What is the difference? Number 3, I want to ask, what was number 3? Which pasuk is the source to believe in Avodah Zarah, not to believe in Avodah Zarah? And which pasuk is the source not to believe in Shituf?
Avodah Zarah, and you should not have other gods before me. No.
So that's not to believe in
Other, I said, what is that?
Avodah Zarah. And which one is not to believe in Shituf?
I thought it's not anal no. I thought it was a debate.
Well, Eina Bavade is a statement, but that's true. It doesn't mean that. But which pasuk is a command not to believe in Shituf? You all know the pasuk, and you say it every day, and you say it more than once a day.
Hashem Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Hashem
Hashem
Elokeinu,
Echad.
Hashem Echad, right? In Hebrew, that's why Shira knew it. What is the difference between Yachid and Echad?
Yachid's like only, Echad's like one. two,
Right.
three, four.
So Yachid means one exclusively, nothing else exists. Echad means one of others. So what's the answer? Why does it say Hashem Echad, not Hashem Yachid?
Because he's the only one.
Because he did create.
So it should say Yachid.
He did create another world to himself, but the point is that even within that, like, it looks like things separate from himself, it's all one.
Right. So the word Echad in this context is a greater statement than Yachid. We're saying Hashem created heaven and earth. created the finite world. And in spite of that, he's still one. Nothing changed in terms of his exclusive oneness. Because everything is Hashem and Hashem is everything. Number three, what does it mean that everything in the world has a mazel?
Everything has a source in spiritual worlds.
Right.
Malach.
So we call it a mala, but it means really everything has the way it existed in a higher spiritual realm. This same thing existed in a higher spiritual realm, and then in a higher and a higher and a higher, all the way till its original source. So tomorrow we will start the new mimer. It's going to be a mimer from the Tzemach Tzedek, and it's a mimer that talks about interesting. It talks about hair, Hair. Why some places in the Torah hair is permissible, something in the Torah hair is something which is considered negative, and it'll talk also about the whole idea of Hashem and the involvement in Parnasa. Thank you.
Rabbi Majeski,
Yes,
what
thank
is
you very
number
much.
4? What does it mean that the blade of grass came to a logical conclusion?
What mean?
It means that the blade of grass came to a logical conclusion.
Right.
Halach above that is.
The angel, not the blade of grass itself.
What does it mean? The angel came to a logical conclusion.
Because angels have logic. The question is, blades of grass have no logic. How could they come to logical conclusions? Because the Gemara says that the grass stored this and the trees stored that. So the question was, how could they think? Okay. Hi, Raizel. Mrs. Yapi, very